Konnichiwa. My name is Rohit Prasad and I'm the founder of RSPinJAPAN. Do you think Japanese is tough? Well, according to me, Japanese is not that tough. And why is that? Because you are making some mistakes. Maybe some thoughts? Today's video, I am going to tell you 5 common mistakes that you are making while learning Japanese or even before starting to learn Japanese. So watch the video till the end to understand each and everything about it. And also, we are starting a batch for N4, N5 and N3 this month. If you want to join, please contact us through our website or fill the form in the description below. Let's begin. As I told you, Japanese is not tough. So what are the mistakes? Let's start with it. The first and foremost mistake that you make is that you think you can learn Japanese on your own. And that's a very optimistic thought, very good indeed. But you have to think about it. Japanese is a bit difficult. When I say that, it's third or fourth or maybe second, the most difficult language to learn. If you want to go and learn Japanese on your own, make sure that you at least start very strong so that further on you can carry it on your own, like now I am doing. Like you can start with very good basics. Learn Japanese from a teacher, from an institute, from anywhere. Make sure your base N5 and N4 is very strong. After that, N3, N2 and N1 is very easy. You can learn it on your own. You don't need anyone's help. All you'll need is some books. That's it. As simple as that. Then the next mistake that you make is that you think Japanese is very tough. You can't help it because when you search on Google, it's actually very tough. But that's for people who don't speak Hindi. For people who speak Hindi, like of course the Indians, you should know that Japanese grammar and Hindi grammar is exactly the same. Thoda sa difference hai. That being said, you don't have to understand how to frame a sentence. All you have to do is learn the vocabulary for each and everything. So you don't have to work so hard to understand the language. It's just the thought that makes Japanese even more difficult. Start by saying that Japanese is nothing but just Hindi in different words. I have seen too many people start very well and then start with N5. They just quit at N5. The third mistake that you make is that you quit too early. When I say too early, I mean sometimes people just learn hiragana and katakana and they're done. That's it. That's like ABCD and you quit. Learning Japanese, if you want to go all the way through or if you want to have a stand, at least do N4. After that, you'll develop an interest on your own. Because you can learn Japanese from now on and you'll start understanding Japanese. If you are quitting in N5, you have learned nothing at all. You cannot use it anywhere and no one is going to even consider that. N5, what is N5? N5 is just like, Mera naam Rohit hai. And you know, I, U, A, O, Kaki, Kuke, Ko, Sashi, Suse, so it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and that's it. So you are quitting too early. Push through and you will find that Japanese is very simple indeed. And now I'm gonna come to the top 2 mistakes that you guys are making. Well, this is the very common mistake and we Indians should not be making it. It's we tend to learn Japanese in English. We can't help it. All the books are in English. That's why you need a teacher. See, Japanese grammar and Hindi grammar is directly related or almost the same, 90% exactly the same, which means it would be very easy for you to learn Japanese in Hindi. But you do it in English. Now, what's the problem here? The problem is when you learn Japanese in English, you have to frame the sentences in opposite way because Japanese grammar and English grammar is opposite. The sentence structure works in a very opposite way. It's exactly the opposite actually. So you have to first think in English, convert it in Hindi, and then understand Japanese. Just quit that English part and learn Japanese or try to learn Japanese in Hindi. Da-da-da-da! Coming to the one and the most simple mistake, actually. I won't call it the biggest mistake, I would call it the most simple mistake. Everyone thinks that learning Japanese or learning any language, it's better to learn from a native speaker. I have some thoughts about this because this, I believe, is the one mistake everyone tends to make. You think that learning Japanese from a native speaker would actually help you. It will help you if you already know Japanese. I know a lot of students, many of my friends who come to Japan knowing absolutely nothing, or maybe N5, they come here, everything is in Japanese. You learn everything in Japanese, but according to theory, which everyone goes through, you should understand Japanese because you can hear only Japanese. But it's not the case. You don't get used to it at all. Sometimes you just go blank, most of the times. And that being said, you should not learn your base levels N5 and N4 from a Japanese native. You should definitely learn it in Hindi or English because you need to understand the fundamentals. You need to understand how this language works. You need to catch the essence of it. And also it needs to be fun. And it's not gonna be fun if you're learning it in Japanese itself. You're gonna have a very hard time to understand what it means because you don't know the language itself. Or if you are not learning from a native teacher, it's probably going to be very cheap too. Very cheap. And you're gonna understand it better. Once you have attained that optimum level, maybe N3 or that beach wala level, you can actually practice how to talk in Japanese with the Japanese native teachers. So there is where you need to convert from the normal teacher to a native speaker. Also, one suggestion, जाते जाते एक suggestion लेकर जाओ. Once the fundamentals are strong, switch. You don't have to actually continue learning Japanese. You can learn Japanese on your own. Use YouTube, use the internet, use some books, learn the vocab, and use apps like HelloTalk or more websites where you can contact Japanese people and talk to them in Japanese. They will talk to you in English. Done. Problem solved. You don't have to work so hard. But again, process speeds up very well if you're learning from a teacher. So these are the 5 common mistakes I think you guys make while learning Japanese. So if you rectify these mistakes, you probably are gonna have a lot of fun while learning Japanese. Well, see you in the next video.